stepped out of the shower to my husband reading my messages, and the look in his eyes terrified me.
My husband was reading the text from my affair while I was taking a shower. When I opened the door, "Hey there, the mini community of Reddit. My name is Katrina, 33 and married to Neville, 37 for 4 years. I am here to share how my husband came to know about my affair and what he did after that. I am not here for people to judge my actions and tell me that I deserved it because I was the one who cheated. To start off, I met Neville when I was in the middle of changing jobs. He was the one who interviewed and rejected me for one of the jobs I had applied for. I was already pissed off at him and was sitting in the food court thinking about my next interview when he walked towards me and offered me a coffee. I thought that he was trying to rub it in my face that I was not good enough for the position that I had applied, but he helped me with tips on how I should give my next interview. I found that to be sweet and kind. With his help, I was able to get a job at a different place and started working. I was so dumb that I didn't even ask for his number to thank him for his help. Looking back, I realized that his gesture was not meant to belittle me, but rather to offer support and guidance. It's a shame that I didn't have his number to call and express my gratitude. I didn't have to wait too long as I met him at one of a corporate event for companies around the city. It was a 2-day event where they organized games and activities for people from the same profession to get to know each other. I spent a lot of time catching up with Neville and thanking him for his insights, which helped me get a job. I also took the opportunity to apologize for not staying in touch and express my regret for not acknowledging his guidance earlier. Neville was gracious and understanding, assuring me that he was happy to see my success and that he understood how busy life can get. We exchanged contact information and made a promise to stay connected moving forward. We started talking and very soon we fell in love. Maybe it was because we could relate to our work that pulled us towards each other. Within a span of 8 months, we decided to get married. We did not have time for our honeymoon, so we decided to have it during our Christmas break. We were both busy with our jobs, and it was not a big deal to go on a honeymoon immediately after getting married. Neville was promoted 2 years after we were married. After his promotion, Neville had become like a completely different person. He was so obsessed with work that he hardly spent time at home. When he was home, he barely slept and was on his laptop continuously typing at a non-human speed and kept yelling at his associates. It was freaking me the hell out. I told him that he was dangerously obsessed with his job and it was becoming addictive. We started having fights around his work as it had now slowly crawled into the bedroom. Neville's obsession with work not only affected our relationship, but also his physical and mental health. It was clear that his job had taken complete control over his life, leaving little room for anything else. I became increasingly concerned about the toll it was taking on him and our relationship. I did not know what to do and started distancing myself from Neville. I was not even interested in having a conversation with him anymore. One of the guys at my office had always had a crush on me and would always try to make a pass at me. I was so frustrated with life that I decided to accept his advances since I started feeling as if I live alone and am not even married. I did not try to ignore him and gave him a smile as I passed him. However, deep down, I knew that using someone else to fill the void in my relationship with Neville was not the solution. As much as I craved attention and companionship, I needed to confront my feelings and address the issues within my relationship before making any impulsive decisions. The affair between me and Jack has been going strong for the past 1 year. I never had so much fun in my life after getting married. It felt as if I had wasted 4 years of my life with Neville. All I could find in the last 4 years was boring conversations about work and economics with little to no fun. We never went out to parties or to get together or even on dates. I was living a very sad life before I met Jack. But with Jack, everything changed. He brought excitement and adventure back into my life. We would go on spontaneous road trips, try new restaurants, and dance the night away at clubs. It was like a breath of fresh air after suffocating in a dull and monotonous marriage. I finally felt alive again, experiencing joy and laughter that had been absent for far too long. Recently, I noticed that Neville had suddenly been trying to make time for me and make time to have conversations with me. I was surprised as to this sudden change in his behavior. I did not know what got into him recently. He asked me if we could go out on a date on the weekend. Of course, I had plans with Jack, but I wasn't going to let him know about it. I agreed to go on a date with Neville as I did not want him to be suspicious of me and Jack. After the date, Neville started making plans of where we could go out on a holiday, and spend some time alone with each other. It was getting difficult for me and Jack to spend time with each other, as I was being occupied by Neville almost every weekend. Jack and I decided to meet in the middle of the week in case Neville made plans for the weekend. I texted Neville that I had a meeting outside of the city as I didn't want to talk to him. He had gotten very clingy and annoying. I booked the hotel far from the city to make sure that we did not cross paths with Neville or anyone we knew. We made sure that we drove in separate cars just in case we got spotted by someone. We spent the entire day together lazing around and making love to each other. It had been so long that we did not get to see each other privately. I came home after spending my day with Jack. To my surprise, Neville was already home and was waiting for me. I told him that I was so tired that I would like to have a leisurely shower to help me relax after such a tiring day. He smiled at me and told me that I looked very stressed and deserved to pamper myself. I kissed him and went into the bathroom to enjoy my shower. When I came out, I saw him with my phone reading something very intently. I came closer and noticed that he was reading the chat between me and Jack. I was shocked to see how he was even able to get into my phone. I was pretty sure that I changed the password and was positive that it was impossible for him to crack it. I knew that he had his doubts about me cheating, so I was taking extra care of being cautious. And Neville looked at me and gave me a smile, telling me that he has never read such passionate messages being exchanged between two people ever. He said that he could clearly see the passion and desire for each other flowing through the conversations. I couldn't make out if he was being sarcastic or truthful about it. He did not look surprised or upset about the chats or the fact that I was cheating on him. I wasn't sure if he already knew about it, and that was the reason he was trying to be nice to me, just to check if his speculations were right, or he was just trying to accuse me of something without any proof. I was still in my bathrobe, so I decided to sway him by seducing him with my body and see if it works. He looked at me with an expression which could easily be translated to, "Are you being serious right now?" He told me that he understood why I did what I did. He agreed that he did not fulfill his duties as a husband, and that was the reason why I had to take this step to find a guy outside of marriage. I was surprised by the amount of composure he was maintaining while having this conversation, because in my head I definitely did not imagine it to go this way when Neville would come to know about my affair. It was a welcome change, and I was very glad that he was not screaming at the top of his lungs accusing me for what I did. He told me that he was not angry or upset and wanted me to take my own sweet time to get ready. He also told me that he had no problem with me continuing my affair with Jack, as he knew that he was the one at fault and it would not be right on my part to ditch Jack just because Neville has now made himself available for me. Oh my God, where was this guy? I mean, if I knew that Neville would be so understanding about this situation and completely take the blame for being unavailable, then I would have had an affair earlier and not have lived so miserably like I did. I thanked Neville for being so understanding and told him that he would not regret being married to me, as tonight would be the best nights of our lives. I went into my vanity to search for my best lingerie to make sure that tonight would be the perfect night of lovemaking for me and Neville. As I was getting ready, the thought of Neville having my phone did cross my mind. But I shut it out because he was already aware of the affair, and the way he reacted did not seem like it really bothered him reading intimate messages between me and Jack. I left him to it, and somewhere I also had a naughty thought that maybe reading those messages might give him a few ideas about how to have some fun. I was giggling and laughing to myself, unaware of the events happening outside of the vanity room. It took me a good 40 minutes to make sure that I looked perfect. When I walked into the room, it was all dark, so I just assumed that Neville wanted to try something romantic. As I kept calling out his name, I couldn't hear the reply, so I grabbed the lights and noticed that Neville was nowhere to be seen. My phone kept buzzing continuously, and there were notifications from everybody at work, so I decided to check what the big deal was all about. I went onto my office application and saw people gossiping and commenting about someone's personal life. I decided to ignore it, as I knew the people in my office had no work but to keep commenting on unnecessary and illogical things. I saw that I had a few messages from Jack as well, but I decided that I would read them later and look for Neville. I searched the entire house but couldn't find him anywhere. I assumed that he might have gone out to get a few condoms. Since I had a little free time, I decided to respond to Jack and let them know that Neville will have no problems with our affair going forward. Maybe I could even call him home a few times. As I read Jack's messages, the blood drained from my face. He was literally abusing me in his messages and asking me why I would post pictures of him and me on the office forum. He said that not only pictures, I had also posted chats where we were discussing the same people from our office and calling them names. I could not believe him and kept free reading his messages over and over. I quickly went to the office forum and started scrolling to check for myself, and there it was. A clear picture of me and Jack smiling and naked, and below that there were chats mentioning our colleagues and all the nasty things that we discussed about. I needed to know that Neville, who tried to act all calm and made sure that I was busy so that he could post all of this and keep me occupied so that I would not respond to it immediately. He was such a cunning man. I am sitting in my room still wearing my bathrobe and writing this as I'm not very sure what to do. Jack would not take my calls and he blocked me after I kept calling him to explain what had happened. Neville just took off without a single word after creating all this mess for me to clear up. I understand that me having an affair was something that I did wrong, but what Neville did was equally wrong. So I turned to you people from Reddit to help me with any suggestions on how I can come out of this situation. Please let me know how to deal with all the shame that I will have to face, since everybody in my office already knows about my affair and what I think about them. I am truly thankful to everyone who has been a part of this journey with me. I know that this is not the end and the struggle has just begun. I will make sure to keep you guys posted on this when I am able to so that you guys know what happens to me after all this. Thank you for taking the time to read. Update. Thank you all the people for sharing their advice and giving me suggestions as to how to go forward with the situation I am in. I'm very happy for all of you for not judging me and blaming me for my actions and giving me genuine advice. To start from where we had left off, after my affair was revealed on the office forum, I did not have much of a choice, so I decided to lie low for a while till the topic died down and then go to office. I had to call my manager asking for a leave, and I could see that he was visibly unhappy about granting me a week away from work. He tried to ask me about the pictures and the chats, but before he could, I hung up. I tried calling Neville, as I at least wanted a confrontation from his end. It kept going to voicemail, which made me more and more frustrated about the situation I was in. Of course, none of my colleagues wanted to have anything to do with me, so they maintained their distance, which was understandable. I'm pretty sure I would have done the same if something like this happened to someone I knew at work. After a week of lazing around at home, trying to get in touch with either Never or Jack, and being unsuccessful, I decided that I could not hide in my house forever. I finally decided to go to work and wore the most subtle clothes that I could find and made my way into the lobby. I was aware of all the unrequired glances and whispers thrown my way, but I knew that there was no point in thinking about all this. So I put my head down and started walking straight towards my seat. One of my colleagues came up to me and asked me if it was true. I was taken aback by these upfront acquisitions, so I blurted out the first thought that came in. I told her that of course there were fake pictures probably created by some stupid application. So she then asked me what I was doing on that application, making naked pictures off me and Jack. I forgot that all of this was posted from my phone. That would still not explain the chats. I realized that I was being too stupid trying to cover it up, as there was no way people would believe that all of this was fake or that my phone was hacked. I was called in by my manager and asked me to resign graciously or they would have to kick me out. Since it was a question of the reputation of the firm, I was forced to resign, and just like that, I became jobless. I was furious when I drove home. Now I had no husband, no affair, no friends, and no job. What more could possibly go wrong in my life? I wish I hadn't said it out loud. As I was parking my car, I saw that the front yard was all messed up. I quickly ran inside as the door was wide open. There was a strong smell so bad that I could hardly breathe. I could see that that was some weird black substance coated on all the walls. I couldn't make out what it was, but it smelled horrible. I picked up a baseball bat just to be careful in case there was someone still inside. I held my breath and slowly made my way towards the bedroom. I didn't know if it was the smell or the room, but it was much more disgusting. The walls were, of course, horrible, but the bed was filled with poop. There was a message written with that black substance on the mirror which said, "Happy cleaning." I instantly knew that it was Neville. I hoped that he would have left the bathroom alone, but of course not. This had something else, and it was of a different color and smelled very funny. So now I don't even have a place to go to the washroom. Great, my life has been on a roller coaster ride for the last 2 weeks. I I decided that I should start cleaning the bathroom since I needed some place to relieve myself. I knew that calling the cleaners would cost me a fortune, and I just became jobless 2 hours ago. As I started cleaning, my eyes started getting irritated, and I felt itching all over my body. I decided to ignore it and continue, but after another 10 minutes, I just couldn't control scratching myself. I decided to take a break, but I just couldn't stop my tears, and I noticed there were rashes all over my hands and legs. I tried to check my face and remove any pus right off, and maybe I passed out as I don't remember anything after that. I woke up in a hospital bed and was told that I would have to stay there for another 2 weeks till they monitor my condition. They told me that I was exposed to toxins, which led to a severe skin allergy. If the neighbors wouldn't have complained about the smell, I would have probably died in my house. Well, it was good to have nosy neighbors once in a while. I was discharged, and it took me almost a month to recover from the allergic reaction on my skin. I was still on medication, and my skin was still noticeably gross to look at. In hindsight, I kept wondering if I should have taken a picture of the mirror to file a lawsuit against Neville for trying to kill me. I went home to a shabby-looking place and decided to leave after packing up my things. I opened the wardrobe and saw that there was nothing in there except my clothes. I did not have the time or energy to deal with it, so I just picked up my clothes and took off. I didn't know where to go, but I knew that it had to be somewhere far where Neville wouldn't be able to find me. I was certain that he was trying to kill me for cheating on him. I started my car and drove off without a destination in mind, and once I was out of the city and realized that it was safe now to make a stop. I stayed at the motel on the highway and changed my clothes to go out to eat something. I was sneezing every 2 seconds. It was a little concerning, but maybe because I was in the hospital for too long. Now that I was just breathing all the polluted air and out in that open, which was causing me to sneeze. I went to a diner nearby and ordered myself a sandwich. My sneezes were growing out of control and everybody kept staring at me. Awkward. I decided to take the sandwich and leave, but before I could do that, I couldn't breathe and I fell unconscious. This was the second time I was waking up in a hospital within a month without knowing what had happened. I was told that the clothes I was wearing had cat fur on them, which I was allergic to. It took them almost 2 weeks to figure out what it was. Since I was previously admitted for an allergy, it would be more difficult for me to recover from this. There was only one person who would have known about my allergy to cats and also have access to my clothes. I was scared to death, to say the least. Neville was trying to use everything he knew about me against me. It was scary just to think about it. I decided to write a long, heartfelt email to Neville to apologize and ask him to stop as I got his message. I would never do anything to betray him and stay away from his life if he would promise me that he would leave me alone. I just hoped that he would stop now and let me live in peace. I dozed off, and when I woke up, the nurse told me that there was someone who came to visit. They left me flowers and a letter. I was too scared to even touch them, as they could be something I should be wary of. I held the letter with the tissue and sanitized it before I even touched it. It read, "I accept your apology and I hope you get well soon." I breathed a sigh of relief as I knew that it was over now. I am still in the hospital, recovering. I'm writing this update because I am bored and also to let you guys know about everything that happened after Neville left me. I know it was one hell of a ride, but it's all over now. I have learned not to mess with the silent ones, as they make your life threateningly dangerous. I don't want to work things out and would never or even try to live in the same house with him. Once I get out of the hospital, I'm probably changing cities and staying as far away from Neville as possible. Thank you all for being such good people and being there for me. I hope you learn something from my story and make wise decisions. My friend told me I would get away with cheating because my husband is a simp. Karma got me hard. Have you ever had a friend who gave you some really bad advice? Well, I certainly have. And let me tell you, it didn't end well for me. There is a phrase that says, rather trust a stone than a human being. They say, listen to your inner voice. Your soul then listen to a friend or anyone else, especially if they were giving advice that would destroy your life and what you were building. I hate the fact that I trusted my friend and went ahead with her advice, only for me to be in the deep end and losing everything I was trying to build. My husband didn't do anything to me or anyone for that matter, but I was encouraged by a friend of mine to cheat on him, and guess what happened? I lost the most loving and caring person I had ever had. Today, I want to share a story with you that happened to me recently. It's a cautionary tale about the consequences of making poor choices and underestimating the power of karma. I wish I had made the right choice of decision. I wish I didn't even listen to what my friend had advised me on. Now I'm all alone, lonely, with no husband and nothing. I can't believe I actually listened to the bad choice and took action on it. I just hate myself for that. Have you ever received advice from a friend that turned out to be a major mistake? Well, I certainly have. Let me share with you the story of how my friend's misguided advice led me down a path of regret and taught me a valuable lesson about karma. My name is Brittany Smith, female 29, and my husband is Bradley James, male 29. Bradley and I met at Central Park. I was going through a lot that day. I had just lost my parents, and things at home were not looking good. So Central Park was the only escape for me. So as I was sitting on the park benches, reading my book while listening to music, Brandon came and asked if he could sit. At first, I didn't hear him because of the earphone that I had on my ears, up until he nudged my shoulder. I gave him the go-ahead to sit on the bench since it was nor occupied. I was reading a book called The White Book, written by Hong Kong. I loved reading that novel. It gave me some sort of peace and assurance that everything was going to be fine. Bradley asked me when I had started reading the book. I tried to ignore him, but he kept nudging me and distracting me. I finally gave him my attention, only to find out that he was actually a fan of Hong Kong. We talked about the book, and he even introduced me to other Hong Kong books. Since we became friends, we were inseparable, seeing that we had a lot in common. Our minds and energies just clicked in a way that I was not even aware of. We would have a book date at the park, and it was so much fun. Our friendship blossomed, and he knew how to make me feel better. I had told him about my family situation and my parents, which was something that was weighing on my shoulders, and I didn't even know what to do nor survive. That time I had even ditched my friends. I didn't want anyone with me. I was pushing so many people away, and I was fine with being alone. But Bradley didn't take no for an answer. He actually forced himself to chill with me. As much as I wanted to decline his request, his handsome face that he made me think otherwise. Bradley was very handsome, clean and focused. I loved the fact that he knew how to make my dull day bright. He was my knight in the shining armor. I would go home feeling a bit better. My other side didn't want to allow Bradley to go. I wanted him to be with me all the time. His company and funny things he would do when we're reading and trying to focus made me want to be with him more than anything. The situation at home was not even helping because every time when I got inside the house, I would feel like *T and would even think of running away from all that was happening at home. It was really taking a huge toll on me, and it felt like I couldn't breathe. I hated how being at home made me think of the worst for myself. I was going through a lot, but I was grateful for Bradley for always being there for me whenever I needed him the most. He was the best friend I had ever had. Bradley always knew what to do to make me feel better. I really don't know what came over me when I decided to cheat on my husband. I really hate how I was easily manipulated by friends to cheat on him. All for what? They called him a simp. My husband loved me for who I am, and he was doing everything for me because he loved me, and it wasn't that he was submissive to me. I was not controlling my husband, and I really hate what my friends did. I was also controlled and manipulated by them to cheat on my husband. So I had a friend, her name is Mandy Lawrence, female 29. We had been friends since high school. She was a very wild person. She loved partying a lot while I was just an introvert. I don't really know how we became friends because our personalities do not match. We were way too different. My aunt didn't like her. She would say she's too forward and loose, so she didn't want me to associate myself with her. Despite my aunt's disapproval, I continued being friends with Mandy secretly without my aunt knowing. When I got into a relationship with Bradley, I had become scarce on seeing Mandy. I was always spending my time with Bradley, not because I didn't like to spend time with Mandy, but Bradley understood me better, you know. He knew what I needed and at what time. Mandy was always out partying. She wasn't available when I needed her the most, but Bradley was there. He would even drop anything that he would be doing and attend to my call. How did I get here? How did I mess up such a good thing that was going on between Bradley and myself? I loved my friend Mandy a lot. Heck, I took her as my sister. Everything that she would say to advise me, I could take it, but it would depend on what I was going through at that time. Mandy was the kind of a friend that would tell you what to do and find a way to convince you until you give in. I should have figured out that her advice of making me cheat on my husband was because she never liked Bradley. She would always find something to say about him. She would make sure to find a fault in everything Bradley did. My friend told me that I could cheat on my husband and get away with it because he's a simp. I didn't really know what that meant at the time, but she made it sound like it was a sure thing. One day, my friend Mandy approached me with a scandalous suggestion. She told me that I could cheat on my husband without any consequences because he was what she called a simp. Now, for those of you who may not be familiar with the term, a simp is someone who is easily manipulated or taken advantage of in a relationship. She actually thought Bradley was easily manipulated, and he was a guy that was submissive to anything that I would say. At first, I was taken aback by her audacity. How could she suggest such a thing? But as she continued to explain her theory, I found myself intrigued by the idea of getting away with something so forbidden. So I listened to her and started seeing someone behind my husband's back. I thought I was being sneaky, that I had it all figured out. But boy, was I wrong. Sure, my husband was a humble and down-to-earth person, but he was not easily manipulative. I took Mandy's advice because I had thought it was going to be a once-off thing and Bradley was never going to find out. I wanted to have a little bit of fun and feel how it was to go outside and explore and experience new things that you had never experienced before. So, against my better judgment, I decided to follow her advice. I know it was very dumb and very foolish of me to listen to someone who is not married while I was married. I didn't even think of the consequences that would take place when Bradley was to find out. I just wanted to feel some type of way for a little bit. I began an affair behind my husband's back, thinking that I would never get caught. I felt invincible, untouchable even. So Mandy and I went to this party. It was one of her own friends' parties, and to say it was nice would be an understatement. It was lit, the vibe was there, and everything was just so perfect. As introverted as I am, but I enjoyed that party a lot. Of course, I had lied to Bradley about where I was going because if I had told him, he would have told me not to go. I just don't know what was happening between Mandy and Bradley, but their spirits didn't connect. They didn't like each other, and that was somehow affecting me. I was in the middle of their own beef. So at the party, Mandy introduced me to this certain guy. She introduced him as Lucas Jordan. The guy was really handsome. I won't lie, but he was not as handsome as my husband Bradley. The Lucas guy was so talkative for my liking, and he was a loquacious and a narcissist person. Throughout the whole night that I had spent with him, it was about him and what he finds interesting. The guy was very handsome and all, but he had no brains, just being a foolish narcissist. Mandy came back and I told her that I wanted to go back home since it was past midnight. I told her that Bradley must be worried about me, especially since my phone's battery had died. My friend, or must I say my so-called friend Mandy, convinced me to stay and told me to let loose a little and be myself and not act like I was a 50-year-old grandma. After a lot of convincing that she did, I finally gave in. Then she told me that even if I find someone attractive, I shouldn't be scared to explore and enjoy that person. It wasn't like my husband would find out and I would manage to get away with it since he was a simp. This simp name kept coming out of Mandy's mouth whenever she would speak ill of my husband. I know I should have defended my husband and not let Mandy's manipulative self get into my head. But what did I do? I just fell straight on her trap, and I was the one who found myself in hot waters. I found myself in the crossroad, not knowing where I was going and where I should go. I shouldn't have allowed Mandy to do that to me, but I guess I was too naive to notice that Mandy was actually trying to destroy my marriage. So during that night, the boring Lucas guy and I continued to engage in a casual conversation. I was glad that he had finally stopped talking about himself like he was in a competition with someone or someone was going to tell him that he was lying. Our conversation was smooth. I drank a lot, trying to forget about my husband that I had left at home. I got intoxicated, and I found myself kissing Lucas. His lips were soft and tender. But one thing that threw me off was the way he was kissing me. He didn't have the skills to kiss. The only thing he was chasing was what was in between my legs. But another thing, he knew how to explore a woman's body, that I can give him a 10 out of 10. He took me from the party to another planet. I felt like I was floating in clouds. That's how much I was enjoying the way he was exploring my body. I loved every moment of it. Besides the kissing skills, the guy had great body exploration skills and good intimate drive. He made me reach my climax within a few minutes, and I don't know how many times I had climaxed. That's how good it was. The following morning, I realized what I had done. The guilt was eating me up so bad to a point that I was even scared to go back home. I didn't know how I would look into my husband's eyes and act like everything was normal while I had committed such abomination. I hated myself for what I had done, and I was regretting it greatly. I thought to myself that a lot would be destroyed if Bradley was to find out. I had gone out there and jeopardized my marriage and relationship with my husband. I was so angry at Mandy for manipulating me to go to the party and to stay when I said I wanted to go back home. My mind kept telling me that Mandy had planned all of this. She knew what would happen when I agreed to stay. She made me chill with that Lucas guy for a purpose. I couldn't believe myself that I was easily manipulated like that, and I was really scared of the outcomes of my abomination because nothing stays in the dark forever. You know, you cannot sweep off something and put it under the carpet and think it would stay there forever. What happened in the dark will always find its way to the light. One day, my husband found out about my affair. He was devastated, heartbroken. I had betrayed his trust and shattered our marriage. But as they say, what goes around comes around. And boy, did karma hit me hard. It didn't take long for my husband to discover my infidelity. The pain and betrayal in his eyes were unbearable, and I knew that I had made a grave mistake. It turns out that karma has a way of catching up with you when you least expect it. And let me tell you, it hit me hard. Only if I had a rejecting backbone, all of this would have been avoided, and I wouldn't find myself in this sticky situation. I realized then that my friend's advice was not only wrong, but also incredibly hurtful. I had let her words manipulate me into making a terrible decision. I soon realized that my friend's misguided advice was not only wrong, but also incredibly damaging. I had allowed myself to be influenced by someone who didn't have my best interests at heart. Another thing I was asking myself was how my husband found out about what I had done. Only 2 people knew about my infidelity. It was the person that I had cheated with, and my friend Mandy only. I wondered who might have told Bradley about the cheating that I had committed. You know, when Bradley found out about my infidelity, he confronted me about it. I tried to deny it, but my denial was nothing because the man had evidence of what I had done. He had a video of me kissing Lucas. I prayed for him to not find out what had really gone down at that party. He only had the video of me kissing Lucas, and I was glad with that because I would have lost my husband if he was to find out. Little did I know that a week later he would get the video. I didn't know who was busy sending him videos of things that I had done. As I faced the consequences of my actions, I learned a valuable lesson about the power of karma. Cheating on my husband not only hurt him, but also shattered the trust and love we had built over the years. Now, I'm left dealing with the consequences of my actions. My husband and I are trying to work through our issues, but it's not easy. We had started a couples therapy together. I told him that I was intoxicated and I didn't think about what led me to kiss the guy. That time, I was trying to fix my things with my husband because of the kiss situation. But things got out of hand when he received the video of me and Lucas getting it down. I don't know who must have taken a video of me, but whoever took a video had straight intentions of destroying my marriage. And guess what? He or she succeeded because with all the effort that we had pulled up to fix our relationship, it went down the drain and there was nothing I would do about it. My conscience told me that Mandy knew about the video that was sent to Bradley, and I really suspected her. As much as she didn't like Bradley, but maybe she had his number. You would never know with Mandy, but I knew her and how she is. After Bradley received the S*** tape, I knew there and then that my marriage was over, and thanks to the person who sent the video to Bradley. And thanks to my nonchalant and ignorant self, I should have known that all of that was a trap. Being stopped to go home when I wanted to go and connecting me with the Lucas guy was all Mandy's plan of making me cheat on my husband. Now I have lost everything I had, and I don't know how I would survive without the only person who understood me for who I was and not what I had to offer. I tried to apologize to Bradley, but he didn't want to hear any of it. To say he was angry would be an understatement. The man was furious, enraged with the mix of heartbreak. The damage was too high and there was nothing to do in order to fix it. Not even therapy sessions would have helped. I had destroyed the most valuable thing in my life, all because I had let myself get manipulated by a person I called a friend. My heart and mind was not at peace, knowing that someone had a hand in destroying my marriage. So I had to find out who had sent Bradley the videos of me. That person knew how to get Bradley. I wanted to find out who it was so that I would be at peace knowing the truth. I know it wasn't going to fix my marriage and my relationship with Bradley, but I felt like I needed to know the person behind my sorrows. That person had managed to destroy me emotionally and mentally. I went back home since Bradley didn't want me anywhere near him. It was like I was disgusting to him or something. He told me to wait for our lawyer anytime soon to deliver divorce papers because he can't be with a loose person with no common sense. He was angry at the fact that I had lied to him about my whereabouts, and another thing was that I was gone with Mandy to a party. He knew and understood that I am an introvert and I didn't like going out in crowded places, but I had gone with Mandy, which was something that fueled him more. During my investigation, I had found out that my so-called friend Mandy had actually paid the guy Lucas to sleep with me. I just couldn't believe it, you know? So Mandy had decided to sell me to Lucas, all for what? So when I was still reading what I had got during my investigation, it showed that Mandy had been texting someone in a seductive way, my husband. But Bradley didn't pay any attention to her stunts. I was so shocked when I discovered that my friend that I had taken and treated like a sister was actually the same person who had destroyed my marriage, and not to stop there, she was busy seducing my man behind my back. I now understand why Bradley didn't like her, and my aunt had warned me against her. I was so naive, and Mandy took advantage of that to destroy me. I was so heartbroken and shuddered. I didn't know what to do because as much as I was heartbroken at the fact that I had cheated on Bradley and he filed for a divorce. Another thing was my separation from my husband. On the other hand, the person I had trusted with my life had betrayed me in the worst way possible. Till today, I am unable to move on from what had taken place. I miss my home, my husband, and how our love used to be. I didn't take any actions regarding what I had found about Mandy, and I decided to just leave her alone and focus on my life. I believed that what was happening to me was actually karma for cheating on my husband. The pain I was feeling when I found out that Mandy was the reason for my marriage to end, it was too deep, and it hurt more than a divorce. I want to forgive myself and forgive Mandy for what she had done and what I had done, but it wasn't easy. It felt like the more I tried to allow myself to forgive and forget, the more I was hurting myself. My divorce with Bradley hasn't been finalized, and I am praying that he comes back to his senses and allows us to try again and fix our marriage. I wish he could give me a chance to rectify my wrongs and fix what is broken. I know I had not only broken our marriage and trust, but I had also broken the heart of the only person who had shown me genuine love and care. Bradley had been there for me throughout everything that I was going through. He had helped me find myself again after my parents' passing and the ill treatment I was getting from my distant family members. My aunt was so disappointed in me when she heard the truth of why I was coming back home, and I don't blame her. I've learned the hard way that cheating is never the answer. It only leads to pain and destruction. So if you ever find yourself in a situation where a friend is encouraging you to do something wrong, think twice. Consider the consequences and choose the path of honesty and integrity. I miss my husband so much, and I want to fix things with him since our divorce hasn't been finalized. Please help me with some advices and guides. I really need to win my husband back. What do you think I should do?